Okay, let's go over this, all the feedback, and I'm going to go over everything about this game because the situation that we're not going to talk about the pro scene. That's something completely different. Maybe I'll touch on it on the end of the video, but I just want to talk about gameplay because I'm a gameplay expert at the end of the day, and I focus on the fundamentals. I'm not a mechanic abuser, and there's a couple of things I want to say. People always ask me, "No, what are you doing? Are you even giving feedback?" Now, first of all, people don't understand this, but there's certain things we can say and certain things we can't say. I'm pretty sure most of my viewers are older, so like my average like 35, 40 years old. So you all know what an NDA is, but if you don't know, it's a non-disclosure agreement. There's certain things I can say and certain things I can't say. So I can't say what I did there, but I give them feedback. I play an early iteration of the game and I give them the best feedback that I can. Now I go beyond what is required of me. I don't just give vocal feedback. I also write down almost like a 15k word dissertation explaining my opinions, but I also give the opinion from the casual player. I say what the problem is and how the problem should be resolved. So not only the problem issue resolution, but also my opinion and what the casual player would think. Because if you ask, let's say, professional player, like if you've read some beta forums, like some pros, not all pros, but some pros have said certain things that they've only said it for their technical advantage. I've got no advantage. I'm not competing in the game. And I just play basics. I don't mechanic abuse. I don't do any of that rubbish. I don't even score Travellas. I just want to play basic, real football. You guys know this. I've always been like that kind of. Maybe that's the only reason why some of you watch me. I understand that. So I give them the feedback. What they decide what to do with the feedback, it's completely up to them. For some of you guys don't understand is like imagine you go into McDonald's, right? And there's a person behind there's a cashier behind the till, right? It's like you going to the person behind the till and complaining why the prices in McDonald's like that. Why did you get your meat from this farm, for example? So I do my best. I'm not even in the cashier. I'm basically someone who sits in the corner eating the McDonald's on a regular basis, and then I provide the best feedback that I can. So whatever I say, it's up to them. I got no jurisdiction. For whatever reason they don't want to do it or whether they can't do it, I don't say so. I give the feedback. And that is why people are saying, "Oh, are you guys not giving feedback?" We are. It's up to them whether they can do it and if they want to do it, okay? Now, let's just address the elephant in the room, okay? Left stick dribbling is absolutely appalling and it needs to be fixed. This was an issue last year when the game released and it got patched after the first patch. This is worse than last year. This is currently the biggest issue inside the game. Look, I'm going to talk about positives here as well, because there's not only negatives, right? But finishing last year, in my opinion, was a big problem. We'll come at that in a second, but that's been improved this year. But left stick dribbling is appalling, okay? Now, I understand they're going down the realistic approach, but if they're going down the realistic approach, which is what they've been doing year after year, why do I have to score Travella outside the box instead of a 1v1? But that's something else different. But why do I have to do 5 different skill moves, speed boost to do a simple left analytic turn? You know, when I'm dribbling, I have to I got to tap the R1 and the L1 by the time inadvertently bringing players close towards me because I can't turn. There's 3 issues with left dribbling. Number 1, you can't turn. In my opinion, they should have put it back to what it was last year, right? Number 1, you can't turn. Number 2, you get tackled from behind. This is a big issue last year. It's not been resolved, and you can still get in real life. How many times do you get tackled from behind? A professional player could be able to turn on the half to be able to control the ball, right? For some reason, you can't do it. It's really weird. You could just get tackled from behind this game. I don't know. So the biggest issue right now is left stick movement. Without left stick movement, the game is too rigid. You can't move. So if they're going down this realistic approach, when do you ever see a player do a step over? You never see it. Very rarely you see a step over. Maybe down the wing, that's it. Why do I have to do a speed boost, a step over, do this strafe dribbling, which no one even does in real life, and this ad dribbling just for simple left stick movement? So that is the biggest issue that has to be resolved immediately. Okay, now, as I wanted to mention, when I played this game, I played this game offline. Okay, and I did play it online as well. Well, I kind of play with other players. So I only had limited time to test the game, so that I gave my impressions. From what I'm playing right now, I can't say that much more, but it's not the same build. I put a disclaimer in the video where I was allowed to talk about my experience. I didn't play the same build. So What they done to left stick, I don't know, but it needs to be fixed. It's a shambles. I cannot even move. It's come to the point now where I have to basically press 5 different buttons to do basic left stick movement. Now, if they want to make the game realistic, like with the, they want to have like the skill gap with the precision shooting, I've got no issue with that design choice. But then to use a simple left stick, we should be able to maneuver. Because AI attack is so stagnant, people are using 5-backs and width because you can't move, so you need passing options. And because AI is so bad, in some areas is good, it can be a problem. So left stick is the biggest issue. If anyone has any questions regarding left stick, if any devs watching this, ask me anything. As always, you know you can contact me on any platform. I'll send you gameplay clips or whatever you need to know. Left stick, in my opinion, has to be changed. Not just for me, for casuals, for pros. Every single person wants the same thing. Okay? Now, the role system. I actually like the role system. Okay? This is going to be more like a podcast type video. But anyway, I actually like the role system. I just don't like the AI element of it. I found out that it's so restricting this year. I don't like how they simplify tactics. I'm hoping in the future, maybe because look, from a business perspective, you can't have so much change. People are already confused with the existing system that we have just this year. Imagine having a more, like maybe in the future you can control in and out of possession. But what I'm upset about is these player choices. Like I want to give you an example, right? So I'm going to go to foot.gg. I want to use a player, right? Now, the most ridiculous thing is, I didn't really think about this because obviously when I'm testing the game out, I'm just using one formation, right? But I thought about this later on to find a player. So like if I want to play, for example, okay, let's say I want to play, in theory, let's just say I want to play a 4-2-3-1, right? Which is actually a very good formation this year, very, very underrated. Now, when I'm using the 4-2-3-1, I can't even play a 4-2-2 because then I have to find a player here that can play cam and striker. Now, just to show you a bit of an example, how many players can play cam and striker? Let's just remove all these things for a second. So I can go like here. And I can go here to players, cam and striker. Has all the selected positions. Now, there's a lot of players here. I can make do with some of these players, right? Half of these players, though, beyond page 3, are not worth using. I understand evolutions is a thing, and it's a very good thing this year. But I can't use it. Where it becomes worse is if I want to use a left mid and a cam, literally there's only 2-page options of players that I want to use. So now I can't play a 5-back system. I am now forced to play the formation I've selected. Now, from a business perspective, should they remove roles? Of course not. But maybe they should adjust how this out of position works, because I think they've taken it to the extreme. When someone is out of position, they stand there, they don't move. When they're defending out of position, they stand there, don't move. You can ask any single player on a football pitch. You can ask a striker, players are right mid, and they might not be good at it. But trust me, they're going to be running back and forward. That's the minimum that they will be doing. But they don't adhere. It's like, even if you took an average person on the street, an average Joe, and said, you know what, every single time your opponent has the ball, you run backwards. Every time you have the ball, you run forward. They should all be able to do that. So in my opinion, the out of position, I would ideally want them to get rid of it. But an idea would be make it so it's not that bad. So we can at least, so now with a 5 tactical layout, like I have a 4-4-2, I cannot play, for example, a 5-back unless I find a centre-back that can play centre-back, centre-mid, and centre-back. You have maybe 3 players that I can choose. And with chemistry, it makes it so difficult to find these links. So this is the biggest thing that I have this year, right? But left stick is bad as it is. But then now I can't even play a formation that I want to. Now I understand evolution is a thing. And I've got no issue with a business being a business first and making money, being paid to win. You all know teams hasn't got the biggest thing. But this is such a big pay to win gap now just to play a basic formation. So those are the 2 main things that I want to say, right? So left stick needs to be done. Speed boost. Thankfully, they've nerfed it. Look, it's not being completely nerfed into the ground. It's still quite effective in some regions. I think they've done a fantastic job with that. Now, the third thing that needs to be done is this Trivela shop. Now, look, in terms of finishing compared to last year, the biggest issue last year was finishing, okay? Now, I'm going to blame the community for this as well, because the community, they're too interested in dynamic cards. What color is my new card? Is it red, orange? When the most important thing, in my opinion, should be gameplay. Now, the whole cutback meta, you know why it started? It's because it was so hard to score 1v1. It was easier to score outside the box with a Trivela than it was to score a complete 1v1. Now, if they're going down direction of realistic football, how many times do you see a long shot scored in a football match? Very rarely. You don't see 4 in every single game like we are doing now. Trivelas need to be nerfed. Finesse shots, plus they need to be nerfed. But this is not that important. I just think, look, outside the box, it's really overpowered. It has to be nerfed. Now, inside the box, as I said to you, goalkeepers are overpowered last year. Now, are they still overpowered? I think they are, but they've done a good job with finishing inside the box only. I want to reiterate this, inside the box. They now made near post more viable. It kind of reminds me of the FIFA 21, where you could shoot near post. So if you go down the wing, let's say, for example, you're going down the wing over here, and let's say you have the ball, you have an outlet. Otherwise, the opponent will just keep moving the goalkeeper every single time, and the far post will be covered. But just like in real life, if you move the goalkeeper a bit too much, the player can go near post. And to be honest, near post is not so OP where you score every single time. You still need to have power, and you need to green time it most of the time. So from a finishing perspective, they've improved it, and I'm happy. Look, I want them to improve it even more. I think, look, I understand why they want to see position shooting, but let's be realistic. A complete, look, if someone is near you and you're shooting on your left foot or your weaker foot, okay, fine. But if there's no defenders near you and you have a 5-star weak foot with 99 finishing and you have a green time shot and you completely miss the target, that is ridiculous. Forget a professional player. Anyone can hit the target. Like even a semi-pro, even just a random person on the street, put them right in front of the goal. You say, hit the target. Can you hit it? So you should expect someone with 99 finishing, 99 shot power to hit that. Look, from last year, they've improved it, okay? So that's the one thing I wanted to mention as a positive. Because not all just negative. It's important to give constructive criticism, but also on where they've improved. So finishing inside the box, they've done a better job from last year, and they've improved that. I'm happy with. But I feel like Trivelas need to be nerfed. Finesse shots need to be nerfed. More so on Trivelas being so OP. Especially if they go down this realistic route. How many times do you see that scoring outside the box? If they go down the realistic route, this cannot exist because they're just categorically against everything to do with realism. Okay? Now, the 5 backs. Okay? Now, look. I'm a bit of a mixed thing. If you use a 5-4-1, maybe mirror or wrap. But like maybe a 5-2-1-2 where you're at least weak on the wide areas. I know why people use it because it's just effective. So I'm going to drink my tea. There's going to be no cuts in this. A raw nil, guys, diatribe. I'm recording this in the morning, by the way. 9 a.m. Haven't gone to bed, but straight after champs. But I wasn't playing, just getting some gameplay. But anyway, so I'm not emotional. That's the most important thing. But yes, 5 backs. Look, I think like FIFA 18, I was at 17. They used to have requirements for the weekend league, sometimes under an 82 rated team. Maybe they can have requirements like that. I'm not saying 82 rated, but I'm saying maybe ban certain formations. They can change this every single week with live tuning. Maybe they let us know on the Monday or Tuesday, and then they change it for the weekend league. That would be amazing if you're asking me. Then they can adapt it and they can change these certain things. So for example, something like the Trickster is very, very OP. Just for that week, they can block it, for example, in theory. That would be a good thing to do, in my opinion. But look, the 5 backs, I don't blame anyone using it because the truth is without width and then because AI is so dull, you're literally relying on a 5 back, okay? So I talked about shooting. Yeah, near post be a big issue. I've got no issue with them promoting precision shooting. Precision shooting for the professional scene, look, to be honest, it's not going to affect the most players. I don't think it should be a thing in the pro scene, but they're forcing pros to use it. Then I haven't got an issue because then everyone is using it together. I know there's an issue, people using assisted shooting, that issue. But I think in the grand scheme of things, if you want to, in theory, increase the skill gap, maybe that might not be the right way to do it. It's better to have no manual defending. Better to have no AI defending, but that could be one way. So I'm not, because that doesn't affect the mass public. It's not the end of the world. And maybe you could argue it could be a skill gap for the pro scene. Could argue is one thing I want to say. I'm not going to say it's a thing because if I was a pro, I wouldn't want to play with it. I just think it's just too risky to implement. But yeah, if the clear 1v1s are fixed and I think the goalkeepers, they've been nerfed. They're not as effective when they come out, especially when they come out too far, for example, in this region. I don't think they're too effective, but I still think they can close the players down a bit too quickly, maybe even a 10% nerf in speed. But from finishing inside the box, I think they're a good job. Maybe they could buff some finesse shots, but then that's not that important. I just think they've done a decent job in terms of finishing inside the box. Improvement from last year, but that can still be improved. Now, next, we're going to go over now. Okay, left stick, we've already gone over. Movement in general, rebounds. Now, I don't know. I normally, every time the game comes out, there's so many rebounds. I'm going to presume it's going to get fixed, and we're just going to completely ignore that. But that is a ridiculous thing, okay? Speed's be enough. First touches. Okay, now, this is what I don't understand. This is to do with left stick as well, okay? Very simply, okay? If the ball arrives to the player's feet, okay, and my left analog stick is facing to the right-hand side, right? Simple, right? We're talking, right? Then the player should take a touch and the body should naturally cover the ball. Just like in real life. You don't have to press the shield, but you have to press L2. Your body should naturally cover the ball like it was in every single FC and every single FIFA iteration for the past 10 years. That's how it should be. The fact that now you can tackle the ball from behind doesn't help. Because now, AI press is very OP and manual press for teammate contain is not OP. So to be honest, you actually promote people just spamming tackle button running at you with no intelligence, which you won't see that on a football pitch. When do you ever see anyone do it on a football pitch in your life, tackling from behind? You commit like that, you're going to get taken. So in my opinion, left stick dribbling kind of goes hand to hand with the first touches, right? First touches are awful. They seem inconsistent. Sometimes they work, but sometimes they don't. It's very inconsistent. You should be able to very cleanly take a touch and take a touch away from a player. Simple like that. It should not be complicated, okay? And to be honest, that is where the skill gap is. And left stick dribbling is anticipating where the player is and reacting to them, okay? Now, when we talk about movement in general, defending, now, there's a few things that maybe is a bit minor, which probably won't affect the mass majority. But I don't like, for example, how the game locks onto the ball, but you can use super cancel. So I'm not going to go with that. Now, defending. Defending kind of goes to movement. It's the most defensive game. Now, this is the thing. If you've nerfed left stick dribbling, let's say in a hypothetical world you do that, then the way you do this to counteract it is you make the defense wider and you make the defense more manual, okay? We've still got a situation where you can run around with your CDMs and defend, okay? You can put your controller down and the game will still defend for you very well. We'll come back to the tweets in a second, what people said, which I'll touch on. It's a big issue. What they should do is we can't adjust the width of a defensive shape. So you know what, EA? Just naturally adjust the width. If you can do it live tuning, every formation, even a 5-back, make them even wider. So there's actually a comp, because 5-backs right now, they're so narrow, you can defend like this. So first of all, get rid of that. Make it so your team set up like this, and then the weak points are a bit in between these spaces, for example, like that. That's what I would say. And get rid of the nonsense where the CDMs can drop in. Maybe one CDM can drop in, but not two, not a back six. I talked about this very early on the just by the instructions. People are finding out about it now, but it's technically speaking, your left back and right back are very far forward, but just get rid of it, in my opinion, just for positivity, should I say. They got rid of the celebration. I'm sure they can get rid of that. That's what I would say, or nerf or something like that. Look, defending aggressively, it's not worth it. You know, okay, look, I'm not saying, like, if they're going on the realism, okay, do you ever see a centre back run out of position? Okay, no. But there's certain situations where your opponent has the ball and you want to apply pressure, and then with teammate contain, which is where the balance of a video game should come in. I should be allowed to go and press my opponent and feel rewarded to get the ball. When I go and press my opponent, I genuinely do not feel rewarded, because I know if I step, and even though this is a gap between the two players, if I step to intercept the passing lane, there's a chance, even though my player is there, I will not intercept it. What's the solution? Anyone that's manually controlled they get an increase interception or increase length. That way you're promoting, if people want to still stay back and defend with their CDM, because let's be honest, most people, the beginners, that's what they do, then let them. But at least give a benefit for those that want to be aggressive, and let us, if you're going to cut the passing lane out, to have a better chance of winning that ball. The interception are just too low. Even someone with like 18 interceptions should be able to get the ball. Now, I know this takes into account players' height, the interception stat, stuff like that. But I think that's probably a big issue in my opinion. So that's what I would say. Now, when they made the jockeying manual, look, I've not got an issue with that, right? But what this has done is that is just to overpower the AI. They just track back perfectly. You can hold your CDM. They do everything for you. Now, I know 2 years ago they got rid of auto tackling. Look, keep auto tackling in. Or if you want to keep defending how it is, just make the defensive line wider so there's more gaps, A, for the casual player and for the professional scene. It'll benefit everyone. But then the casual players can still run back with their CDM if they want to defend effectively. And the pro player can go and apply pressure to the ball carrier and be like, you know what, I'll have to just sit there and play passively. So that's what I wanted to say in regards to that, okay? Now, passes. Now, when I say to you I give feedback, contrary to belief, I actually don't mind the passing system for no scopes, okay? So, look, I'm not talking about simple I'm not talking about, for example, you're aiming, for example, at this player and the ball goes to this player. We all know that's a big issue. I'm sure I think they know about it. That's just common sense. I think they all know about that already. I think everyone can see that yourself. But what I'm talking about is, for example, the 180 no-scope passes, I've got not an issue. So if you're facing, for example, let's say you're facing this way, and they've nerfed the no-scope passes, I'm completely fine with that. Because if they're going down the realism route, then that's completely fine. And to be honest, 180 no-scope pass is ridiculous. Only a few players can do that in real life even. And you can't even do it all the time consistently. So look, I'm happy with the nerfing of passing. So contrary to belief, that aspect is fine. What I have an issue is first-time passes being dreadful. I'm not talking about when there's pressure on the ball. I mean like when there's no one next to you, do a first-time pass, and a player's like falling down when they're making a pass. Actually, in terms of movement, those players falling down is a big issue as well. Thinking about more stuff as I'm thinking about it. But yeah, those first-time passes, like a first-time ping pass, I'm not saying you need to have 90 passing, but sometimes a basic ping pass when there's no one in the vicinity, it's a complete miss. At least have an error. So like maybe the angle of failure is wider, but let the pass go towards the player. So that is a big issue. Of just the passing in general. So I've not got an issue with the 180 no scopes being nerfed, because I think that's what it should be nerfed. Those outrageous passes should be harder. But I think when they've nerfed driven passes, okay, nerf the ones when you're spamming driven passes to the striker. I think they've done a good job with that one. But the balance when someone is close by or when you're trying to make a pass and the game passes the ball to the wrong player, it's a complete big mistake. It needs to be adjusted. At least make it viable. Look, anyone can do a hard part. Like, this is not like rocket science now. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like they're going for realism, but then they have like these ridiculous mechanics, like a Trivela being consistent outside the box. It just doesn't make sense. And for example, like an example of where finishing was perfect was FIFA 21, because inside the box it was basically almost a goal all the time. Or like the FIFA 18 is, but that's too far. Most people don't remember the FIFA 18 days. Everyone lives in this kind of this golden glasses, whatever they call it, hypothetical unicorn land where FIFA 18 pre-patch was the best game ever. It was not. For anyone that actually played the champs, do you remember how bad ping pong passing was? But where I do agree is that FIFA 18 pre-patch defending, you were just left to your own devices. Bare minimum defending, bare minimum trap back. Look, I think realistically, they're not going to ever do that again because there's too many casual players. Of course, I would love that, but I know they're not going to do that. That's completely fine. But like when you have a game like this where it's so AI heavy, you don't get rewarded for breaking down the entire defense. Finishing should then be the easiest thing, if that makes sense. So that balance has to be right. In real life, you know, when a player has a clean 1v1, most of the time they're scoring. Let's be realistic, a clean 1v1. Of course, in the game, in real life, you're not really going to have a clean 1v1 that much. You're always going to have a player defender on you. But yes, I wanted to mention in terms of that. So, you know, we have issue with the passes going to the wrong play and stuff like that. That's just one thing that needs to be addressed, but I'm pretty sure they're probably aware of that and they probably work on it. Don't forget, there's probably a lot of things that maybe they can't introduce, but that's why I'm trying to focus on things that they can change, things that I think they can change. Like, I could be wrong. I could be saying this and they could be watching this thinking, you don't know what you're talking about, Neil. So fair play. I'm not sitting where they're sitting. It's easy for us to criticize or constructively criticize from far, but maybe there's different dependencies. Because people always ask me this, like, it's not like a volume knob, you know, you can't just turn the volume to 79%. You know, if you turn it to it's like 75, turn it to 80%, but then this and that gets affected. So everything is connected as a whole. And don't forget, this game was made before the devs that even here, before they even, like, it was made like 10 years ago. So those devs are no longer even there. If they are there, there's only maybe 1 or 2 left. So if there is, I don't even think there is. So understand, they're building on code that was already made. So that's what I wanted to mention. Now, tackling. Rebounds, we know, is a big issue that needs to be fixed. Too frequently, player run towards the ball. Okay, this is the thing. I'm not going to mention this, but a bit too complicated to explain on this one. Slide tackles. I've mentioned this to them already. I know there's an issue with hard slide tackles not registering. It's a big issue. And normal slide tackles, they just miss the ball. I mean, with someone who manually defends a normal slide tackle, they just miss the ball. The player lock doesn't lock in. And like, if the ball is over here and I do a slide tackle, something my player will just go through. Even if I'm aiming the correct way, the player will go through when there should be a player lock onto the ball. So tackling definitely has that issue. Those rebounds and players falling on the floor, it's a big, big issue that needs to be addressed. I'm going to presume it's going to be addressed in that first patch. Now, goalkeepers, I actually really like the new playstyles. I do believe like the playstyle plus of Oblak should be buffed. Can't even speak, buff. So like, if someone is doing, let's say I have Son on the ball, right? You guys know I'm a big fan of Son. A green time Trivela should not be as consistent as it is, to be honest, right? Sorry, finesse shot. But at least in contrast compared to Trivela, where anyone can do it, at least with a finesse shot plus, you need good shot power, good curve. Only a few players can do it, and you can move the goalkeeper. But maybe Oblak with the far reach has a better chance of saving those, because Oblak hasn't got the best of chances of saving those. Maybe with the far reach, that player has the best possible chance of saving that. Deflections are the biggest issue. Now, in Rush is a big issue. If anyone plays Rush like with a team, you would know a very easy way of scoring goals, literally just smacking the ball and then just getting the rebounds. Look, when the ball gets hit with a deflector like mine, Anish, it goes about here. This reminds me of, if anyone was a real true FIFA 18 player, the issues was always there. It was rebounds. From people would just smack a low driven. It would either go in or it would be a rebound. And sometimes what people used to do, if you remember any OG players here in FIFA 18, if you smack the ball at a really off angle, where like basically this angle in FIFA 18, I loved it, honestly, it was so clean. If you didn't defend, you'd always score from this angle, right? But sometimes some people will go really, for example, like here in no man's, where they can't really shoot at all, and they'll deliberately hit the ball with power. The goalkeeper will parry it, and then the other player will just finish off. So what they should do is this year is kind of the same as that. So with Mainan, wherever his name is, how he's sitting properly, let him deflect the ball properly out, but without the deflector play style. Yeah, at least bring the ball, for example, like here, wider, because it's just going back too much inside the box. And people who know what they're doing can really very much abuse that. So that needs to be changed from that. Goalkeepers, they're not as effective as they were last year. And I said when they come out, I think they're slightly a bit too overpowered. But that is about it. Against finesses, I think compared to last year, finishing, like maybe for low drivens and finesse shots, they should be a bit more effective against goalkeepers. But from inside the box, yes, I would like them to buff it, but I don't think that's the priority right now, because near post is effective this year. So is across goal. So you have two variations. You've got to counter the goalkeeper, which is important. So I'm not going to talk about that too much because they're not going to touch that, in my opinion. Now, pressing, we talked about that as well. AI depth needs to be nerfed. Now, what I don't like is they put depth in this whole category together. So you can't do press after possession loss with a low depth like you could last year. You're basically confined to this new system where it's like 0 to 100. It's simplistic. I don't like it, personally speaking, if you're asking me. I mean, look, I think, and of course, there's no going to be no major changes, but maybe at least nerf the depth of like 70, 80, in my opinion. I just think it's just too overpowered. And because it's so hard to build out from the back. Now, of course, in real life, you know, it's a bit different. When you have 11 mines versus 11 mines and you're training inside out against the same opponents every single day, it's a bit easier to press the unit. As soon as you see the striker go, the rest of the team will follow in real life. But in FC, is one mine versus one mind. So it's a bit different. It's obviously should be easier to build up because everything is more synchronized with L1 triggers, stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to talk about movement in a second, okay? I just gone to movement now, actually. So AI movement. AI movement is, in some areas, like if you put a left wing or a right wing on roaming, like on roaming, I actually like their movement. There's only, for a poacher, a right wing on inside forward roaming, and maybe a holding are the only real ones that I would say that I really notice a difference. Okay, now AI movement is lacking so much. Now I'll be honest, when I saw this role system, I was so excited. I knew there would be restrictions, for example, players being out of position, but what they've done is they've nerfed AI movement even more to an extreme like never before. It's come to the point now where I actually, for those of you who don't know, I play basic FC, right? And it's my job to get people into like elite level caliber, which is very easy to do if you know the basics. Like in real life, do you see anyone doing skill moves? Why do we have to do player locks and all this creative runs for simple movement? Now, I'm not saying, okay, players have to do this crazy movement, like, you know, run invertedly. But like when I get the ball, why are these players not running? Now, this is something that I've been mentioning for years. Every time I give feedback, I say it, especially if you're going to make the game slow like that. This game, in my opinion, is just too slow. I understand for the masses why I've done it. Look, my average audience is 40-year-olds. And I can tell you, from my average audience being 35, 40-year-olds, if they find the game slow, trust me, everyone else is finding the game slow. It's just too slow. Look, I understand for career mode and kickoff, that's fine. Make that game mode slow for them. Let people who want to spend 90 minutes inside the game and simulate a real life football game, let them do that. But online, it's just not feasible. It's like, can you imagine with Counter-Strike just moving all the time very, very slow? If you have a fast and quicker game, you introduce a skill gap. Now, I'm going to go back to FIFA 19 now. This FIFA 19 was not a good game, okay? First time shot nonsense, all this rubbish. El Tornado, Beach Ball FC is what football I used to call it. But the game was quick. When I had when I had a 15k team, those you don't know that know, gold 15k team, I could play against a top tier player. I even played against pro players, and if I had 15k team, but I was quick enough, I could apply pressure. I can win the ball back. I wouldn't be completely nerfed into the ground. Now, if I'm up against a top tier player or a pro player with a bad team, that's it. It's done. I got no hope. Now, that's fine if you had that pay to win gap, but the game was quick, so it allowed me to do all these things. I could apply teammate contain. I could build quickly. You don't believe me? Go play Ultimate Team now. Go to FIFA 19. Use a gold team, the cheapest gold team you can buy, or even use gold non-res, and you will see how quick the game is. Use the FEWC Stadium. Use the cop camera angle, the same cop camera angle, compare the exact same gameplay. The game is much more smoother, faster. Now, am I saying go back in the past? No, because that game had so much. I'm talking about the game speed there. So the AI movement is lacking so much. There needs to be a change in game speed. I think it really needs to be addressed. They're not going to probably make a change, but like if the game speed is going to stay, excuse me. Just realized we speaking for. This is the hardest thing about coaching, I'm telling you. I do these calls. Hardest thing is talking non-stop. I tell you, recording video is one of the hardest things. Like, people think it's easy. recording the same thing for an hour is anyway, out of breath. They need to buff AI movement. Is just, this is why I don't like this role system, because I'm just so restricted. Like, you know, if for example I'm struggling in a 4-4-2, I can't now play a 4-1-2-1-2 because no one can play a cam. Like, it's really silly. Like, can you imagine in real life, for example, like imagine us versus Man City when we were defending in that that 6-4 system, right? Or 6-3. Do you think these players can't play basic positions? Like, they shouldn't just stand there, like literally do nothing. Even low work rates last year, there was more movement in low work rates. So that is just a big issue. So these are all collectively so many issues. And again, I say the same feedback most of the time. I'm a basic player. Like, I'm not asking you to do something crazy. I just play with a fight. And this is what I'm trying to say is, look, everyone has a right to their opinion, but I always use an analogy. Maybe it's wrong for me to say this, but everyone has a right to their opinion. But you're not going to ask a random person on the street about brain surgery. And the reason why I'm not saying that is because, look, if I play basic fundamental football and I can't even play basic football, then you know there's a problem. So this is the issue that I'm left with. It's coming to the point now where I'm like, do I just reteach the way that I play this game? You know what? Telling everyone, you know what? Forget this playing base football, because you can't move. You got to do a step over to move. You got to do a speed boost. You got to do agile dribbling, strafe dribbling, control dribbling. Then if you tap it at the same time, you're bringing players close and pushing players forward. It's ridiculous. Now let's go over some of the comments, as we're already into my 45-minute diatribe. Actually, no, we'll talk about Rush actually quickly. First of all, Rush actually such a good game mode, right? They need to introduce a kick feature. Unbelievable. And you know what? The sad thing is, a lot of these PC players that are AFK. I'm not calling any of the PC players out, but for some reason it's always the PC players. But rubber banding and evolutions have a kick system. You know, have a system where, okay, if someone, it's only one person you can kick in a game, right? Only one person maximum. Let's say someone is AFK. The three other players, so this is only for solos. So let's say I match up with three other people and 3 solos. If someone is AFK, all the 3 players can vote to kick that player. It's only if all 3 players, 3 out of 3 players vote to kick that player, then that player gets kicked. This will resolve the issue of people being AFK, because they know if they be AFK, they're going to get kicked. And if you get kicked, there's no timeout, no negative penalty or anything like that, because sometimes you could get kicked for the wrong reason or whatever because you don't pass the ball. So introduce the kick system where everyone has to vote, and at least maybe do it 1 minute in. So maybe 1 or 2 minutes in, then you can vote to kick. That way people are still, like, you know, if they're not playing a game properly or the controller's down, they got some time to play. So after 2 minutes, cue a kick countdown. And by the way, those of you that are behind Rush, fantastic game mode. It's what if they solve this issue of being AFK and maybe they promote passing, maybe for example, the more passes you do, the more points you get, something along those lines. Or maybe for certain evolutions, like maybe the shooting evolutions, let people do it in golden goal. But let's say, for example, an evolution, for example, like you have to do 10 through balls or 10 ground passes, for example, or 10 assists. Assists would be perfect in Rush. Allow those objectives to do them in Rush. But we'll come into Ultimate Team in a second, because technically you should be able to do objectives in Champs as well. But anyway, and also an option to play again with the same team. It will be so cool when you find a good team that finally works. Everyone's gelling, everyone is passing. Do I really want to go to this EA Play thing and try to add everyone? No. Do it where, like, you have an option to play again with the same team. Kind of like other games, how you have the option at the end of the game. So that's the 2 things. The voting system. So after 2 minutes of game, you can vote, and you can only vote 1 time. So you can only queue that vote 1 time or whatever, right? And everyone has to vote. Everyone has to press yes, like in CS:GO, and then that player gets kicked. Play again. And maybe a long-term thing would be voice chat. Now, let's go over the inconsistency in gameplay. We know about that. There's probably nothing we're gonna do anything about that. But defensive AI, I agree. I don't know. It's this defensive AI needs to be changed. I don't know. But anyway, one positive, SBC storage. To be honest, that is actually a very good thing. For the ultimate team, I can tell you two things that have been fantastic. Okay, three things. Rewards are insane. Okay, casual players that are crying about rank 1 players, play the game. You know, it's like saying two people work the job, and it's like trying to say X worked 20 hours, but Y worked 10 hours, but Y wants the same amount of money as X. No, it doesn't work like that. You should get rewarded. You know, the problem is they made rewards too easy. Back when there was 30 games, you had to get gold 1 to get decent rewards. Now you can get rank 5 and rank whatever it is, and you get in hero cast, rank 4, whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's ridiculous. So this, and to be honest, the 14 wins from rivals, okay, I agree, it shouldn't be 14, and maybe make it like 11 or something, or 10 or whatever. But even when if you get 5 wins, if I'm not mistaken, 5 wins this year is better than the rewards from 7 wins last year. So that's a good thing. Yes, SBC storage amazing. Also, thank the Lord. Thank the Lord they brought back relegation. Thank the Lord. Okay. I think there should be relegation Division 4 and Division 5, in my opinion. Maybe have maybe have like one milestone. But trust me, that was the best thing they've done. Ultimate Team people listening, best thing you've ever done in your life. All these people that were never Elite Division players are no longer in Elite Division. People are now saying, "Oh, I'm losing," when they should not be winning every single game. People are not getting stuck in Elite Division anymore. And then also the system now it gets incrementally harder. Fantastic system, absolutely fantastic. And that way you're still keeping user retention. They're going to feel they're progressing. It's only when you get to the Elite 3 plus, which, to be honest, the casual player does not get to Elite 3 plus. It's not really going to affect them. Air defense too strong. I agree. Clinch system's a joke. Yes, that's getting stuck and dropping the ball. Trivella's big issue. Power shots. Look, I've not got an issue with. I know the first time. Look, first time power shots. Look, I made a video on this on the first day. The first video. I was in it from the corner flag. The passing, but it was a thing last year as well. At least with power shots, yes, it's an issue. I agree. It should probably be nerfed a little bit, at least the first time one. But at least you have to aim your shot somewhat. That Trivella is just even worse. Like literally, there's no consequence of aiming it wrong. As long as you got the right angle, you're basically scoring. It's just ridiculous. Tackles from behind, I agree, completely done. R1 dribbling, look, I've got no issue with R1 dribbling. But why, for my player to move, do I have to have technical plus? It's come to the point I'm using Foden, Bernardo Silva, Future. I'm using, who else am I using? Foden, Bonmati. I'm using all these players just for technical sprint because I can't left stick dribble. It's ridiculous how you, forget even taking someone on, it's ridiculous how you can't even move with left stick and you're getting tackled. That should be resolved. That's the most important thing I think the entire community is talking about. Keeper movement. Now listen, I have a controversial opinion on side of the game. I think it's good balance this year. Because against a Trivella, at least you got something. At least you got something. Even though it's not effective, it should be buffed against Trivella shots. Because if you read it in real life, if you keep spamming the same shot every single second, the goalkeeper's going to move in real life. So Trivella's. But they've nerfed goalkeeper movement this year. I think they got the balance right. Okay. Now this is from extensive testing I've done as well. The reason why is because they made if near post wasn't a viable angle, this would be the issue. It would be an issue. But because they've nerfed the goalkeeper a bit, especially from near post areas, and near post has become more effective from either the shooting side or the goalkeeping side, whichever side it is, and they've nerfed goalkeeping movement where you can only take one step. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think they've actually tuned goalkeeper movement for the masses correctly. I think when more people discover near post being effective, I agree. Maybe you could argue it's a bit of a cheap mechanic. It shouldn't bail you out, but I think it's the right choice. If shooting is good like FIFA 21, the goalkeeper movement could be amazing as long as shooting and finishing is amazing. Then that overpowers that completely. Now let's just go to the next one. Accelerate system. Okay, I don't really care about the graphics. To be honest, let's be realistic. Like, you know what? The ridiculous thing is, I can't believe I'm saying this. Like, I don't want to go back to old gen, and I know if I touch old gen, I will not come back. Like, I know this, but like, if you're not enjoying the game, play old gen. I know it's not a good thing for me to say because promoting new gen, but like as it stands, until if they patch it, everything's fine. Now the accelerate system, I don't think is a decline. If you're asking me, to be honest, there's so much misinformation. Accelerate people. I mean, people were saying lengthy was the meta because the player runs faster. They accelerate faster. They don't run faster with sprint speed. But that was a big misunderstanding. But there's not enough room to move inside the game. Can't put players out of position. I agree. This is the perfect line. It makes it so it's no longer your ultimate team. You know what? That is the perfect way of describing it. In real life, do you have like 10 different teams? Do you say, oh, Saka or Ban, you can't play left back or right back. I got to put you in another team. It's ridiculous. I think that's probably the best way of just summing up. You know, it's no longer your ultimate team. That was the whole point of Ultimate Team, having all the best players inside the game. And to be honest, just make us use any player. If that makes the game more pay to win and you want to release, look, I got no issue. Release 500k packs every single day. I don't care. And if someone wants to spend their own money on it, that's their own choice. No one, people who think they need to spend money in the game, that's their fault. They should know that every year I tell you, it's all about the basics and gameplay. Maybe this year I might be the first year. I'm just like, okay, it's still going to be about basics and gameplay, but you think pros are still winning with cheap teams. You don't need a big team to compete anyway. But AI backtracking at full speed. I think this is fine. AI tracking. Look, I think for the casual player, it cannot be nerfed. I think the tracking back is not really the issue, to be honest. I don't think tracking is the big issue. It's a long story, but like for the casuals, from a business perspective and also the feedback that I give, the feedback that I give affects everyone as a whole, but it gives everyone in a positive light. Let's be realistic. If you want to play offline kickoff, you can make the gameplay slower in the menus if you really, really want to. I agree. 1v1 goalkeeper's too strong. I agree. At least they buffed it this year, but I agree when a goalkeeper comes out, it's still strong. Player switching. Oh, spamming tackles. Let's not even get into that. This is also a big thing. The reason why this Trivela shot meta and everything is even more effective is because you can't recycle the ball in. Like, honestly, it's coming to the point now where you're forced to do a first-time power shot or you're forced to do a first-time skill move because of the current situation of the game right now, basically. Foul system is broken. I agree. 50 centre-backs catch 95 pace player. I'd see this more and more this year, to be honest. Normally, I would say, look, it's all about angles, but sometimes, I'm not going to lie, this year it's a bit funky when I'm running back at this angle with 90 pace and still somehow someone is beating me and I've got the angle on them as well. Most of the times by angles. So like if you have a player, let's say I have a player here and a player here. This people don't understand. If the ball is over this at this situation, and let's say, for example, two players are running for the ball, even if this player has 70 sprint speed, they're always going to, let's ignore accelerate and everything for now. Let's assume they got the same standard 70 sprint speed on this player and the same standard 90 sprint speed. This player will get to the ball quicker because this player is cutting through the shorter distance. But I agree. I'm noticing a lot more play a lofted pass in the final third. I like the fact that they first touches. I think that's left stick dribbling. I think everyone talks about left stick dribbling. Nerfing auto tackling. Like, I don't think it should be a thing from my competitive perspective, but I think for the casuals, you have to. As you also, when I give feedback, I take into account all audience. I don't just say, this is why I'm saying is important, because if you ask, for example, someone who wants the game, like if you ask a career mode guy or like a proper casual kickoff player, they want the game to be so slow and unrealistic, which is they can just turn the sliders down if they really don't like it, or make that option, turn it down. Evos, Okay, Evos. Okay, apart from the issue right now with Evos, where like you're trying to chain a player and it's not chaining properly. Evos are the best thing they've done. And you know what? They give you the chance to spend FP points and coins. Fantastic. You know, the Ultimate Team guys, 10-10, honestly. I agree the chaining and all that, but look, there's so many amazing players. But like, as I said, these less pay to win players, I can now I've got an issue number 1 with chemistry, and issue number 2 now, I can't even play them because of the positional system. So, I mean, look, maybe this is going to be not an issue later on, but do I want to wait 6 months to play the formation that I want to play, or use like, am I really going to wait till January or February or March to play some players that I want to play in the correct position? Otherwise, I just cannot play. It's ridiculous if you're asking me. But I think Evolution's fantastic job. Amazing. Ultimate Team, guys, props to you. Very, very good thing, in my opinion. Rewards have been better. Not enough for the top tier. Maybe I would argue that's correct. Manual defending is better this year. I'll probably disagree with that. And this I think sums it up by George here, right? I don't know who this George is. Do this your job? Look, I think this sums it up, okay? This line. I don't know who this is George. No, I've not seen a comment before. My main negative about the game is the fact you can only win the game by abusing mechanics. You know what? I think that just sums it up. If you can't play basic football, how can this be a realistic football game? That's what I want to say. But anyway, guys, look, hope you enjoyed it. It's an hour long. I'm actually about to go to bed. It's coming close to 10:30 now. Need to go to bed. Need to wake up at 12:30. Do some editing. This is always peak season for me. It's 20-hour days. But things are slowing down now. Thankfully. But yeah, guys, I appreciate it. I just wanted to make this video, give you my feedback. Look, maybe some devs will see it, maybe they won't. And look, I know there's some devs responding to Twitter posts and everything like that. Try to be constructive. I understand people get emotional. And even people, when they come at me, they blame me, saying for the game, this and that. I understand when people play the game, they get emotional. A lot of people that I speak to, they apologize after. So if you are watching this, any devs or anything, I'm sure people don't mean it in the wrong way. They're just emotional about the game that we're passionate about. Sometimes the lines get blurred. So obviously try to be constructive. And you have to understand some things are not in their control as well. And one thing I wanted to say, they're not thick-skinned. Obviously, me as a content creator, I get crap all the time, to be honest. I'm used to it. But a lot of people, for example, other people are not going to get used to it. So especially with mental health and stuff like that, I just want to say that. So if you are going to give feedback, at least give constructive feedback. Don't just say the game is shit. Say why it's shit if you can. If you can. So like if you have an opinion, say, okay, the game is bad. Okay, say, look, it's bad because of this, and I think this should change. It's better if you can show gameplay clips. When I try to provide feedback, so like for anyone that ever does like wonder how I do it, right? I can't say what exactly I do, but when I give feedback, I compare the games. I look at what's an appropriate solution that doesn't affect everyone in the grand scheme of things in a good way, that doesn't negatively affect the game. But I also word it from my perspective, because look, I'd want the game, if you're asking me, I'd want a full manual game, amazing AI movement, no manual defending, no AI defending, fully manual defending. 1v1's always going to be a goal. If you beat a defense, always be a goal. Long shots, 1 in 10 chance of scoring. Basic left stick. That's what I want, if you're asking me personally. But it's not realistic for me to say that because they can't cater the game for me. So I try to give it from a casual perspective as well. And I also try to add clips, because if you talk about stuff, like even now, like I'm pretty sure I'm talking about stuff. Even someone talking about this video, I'm sure everyone knows about this because I'm talking about common issues. That's why I kind of, some issues I didn't go over that were a bit more complicated, a bit more in-depth, that we couldn't really talk about. But like some of these things that you just got to show gameplay. But also what doesn't help in the community is, and I don't want to say this, I don't care what anyone thinks, 99% of the community, they believe in scripting and all this, and they just categorically think that it exists. Like DDA cannot, scripting cannot exist, but people don't understand the game is broken and they mix that up with DDA. And why I'm always so confused is there's people that are very well educated in different fields, working in professional fields, and they don't understand. They're just completely taking logic out of the equation, and they're just categorically defending it like it's their family member at all costs. So that's something that's very, very interesting. But you can see, look, this is why I say at the end of the day, the reason why I do this video is to bring awareness. Now, people say, for example, oh yeah, Neil, you don't. I'm actually going to use the exact same thumbnail from last year. People are going to say, oh no, you don't say a thing. Behind closed doors, I'm giving as much feedback as I can. If they ever need anything, or but like I've said the same issues, so similar issues last year. And for example, the cutback meta, all this, I've mentioned it all in the video. And to be honest, this is why I make these videos, is to bring awareness. I'm not hating on anyone. I'm just trying to give my feedback. But I'm also trying to explain to you, look, if you are going to give your feedback, give it in a constructive feedback, constructive format. You know, it's like someone saying, no, your videos are shit. But why is it shit? Is it because I talk too much? I go on a tangent? I'm using my stupid explanations. I keep using the car example. I talk too fast. My accent's not good. You gotta tell me why. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.